Welcome to the conversation series Wellbeing at Work. Today's guest speaker believes that health powers productivity. Marcey Rader is a multi-certified health and productivity expert, a three-time best-selling author, and an award-winning global keynote speaker. As the founder of Rader Co, Marcey helps executives, teams, and individuals banish burnout, keep good life, and move forward through practical, tailored tools, healthy, sustainable habits, and coaching accountability. Welcome, Marcey.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Marcey, your career path seems very interesting. Could you share a story of what your professional life used to be like in your 20s and 30s? And along those lines, how did you decide to establish your productivity coaching business?
Well, it is kind of a crooked path. My degrees are actually in exercise science and wellness. I have a bachelor's and master's, and I worked in that field for just a few years before I went into clinical research in pharmaceutical, biotech, medical device. And I spent 14 years in that industry and worked my way up, study coordinator, monitor, clinical lead, became a trainer, was a manager, and basically went as high as I wanted to go in that industry and started my coaching business because at one point I was traveling so much, about 48 weeks a year, or up to 48 weeks a year. And I had only seen my husband for less than 3 days in 21 days. And I knew I wanted to do something else, but I just didn't know what. And so I took about 4 months, just thinking, what can I do with the skills that I have? And I'd always kind of still coached people on the side, health coaching on the side. And so I took that, but then also there were always people asking me, like, how do I do it? How do I travel 48 weeks, shut down with inbox zero, get all my tasks done? How do I do this and manage my time? And I thought, there isn't really anybody combining health with productivity. And so I started my business almost 8 years ago, combining the two, and I have never looked back.
That's an incredible story. But when I read your bio, I read somewhere that your health was severely compromised because of
Yes.
a lot of stressors that you've been going through in your business life as a business traveler, as somebody who had a very responsible position within the company. What
Yeah.
happened?
Yes, I really glossed over that, didn't I? And I didn't mean to. So in my 20s and 30s, well, mostly in my 30s, I was also an ultra endurance racer. I did Ironmans and ultra mountain biking. I did up to 36-hour adventure races. I did ultra running. So that on top of the very high stress lifestyle of traveling that much and trying to fit it all in on the weekends, I ended up going into menopause at age 36, which is about 20 years early. And it also triggered 3 autoimmune diseases. And, for somebody that had a health background and looked like the healthiest person in the room, it was embarrassing. I had some denial. And, in the beginning, that diagnosis was really right around the time that I quit my job and started this new business. And I knew something was wrong with me before I quit my job. I'd had about a year of, situational depression, uncontrollable crying sometimes, driving and not knowing where I was driving to, like forgetting where I was even going. And all of those things just compounded until I finally, after I think it was 4 or 5 doctors, got the proper diagnosis that it wasn't just in my head, it wasn't my fault, and the lifestyle that I had chosen, which was very high intensity, very high stress, I couldn't just wait until someday to slow down. And that was kind of my motto. When I get a promotion, then I'll slow down. When we get our house built, then I'll slow down. When I, get on this project, then I won't travel as much. When I, enter this race, then I'll cut back. There was always something else. And no matter what I did, wherever I got to, I would just set the bar higher. And those are, actually the types of clients that I work with now, because nobody hires me that isn't motivated, or inspired. I'm usually working with people that we kind of need to scale back because they have so much going on. And so, it's a being able to relate to that very, very hard charging mentality. And it's something that I have to check myself on all the time. I'm 46 years old. I'm very healthy, but I can quickly go under, because I need to manage my stress levels and everything else to keep the autoimmune under control.
It's incredible how our health is actually so fragile, and it takes just a little bit of lack of mindfulness to relapse or develop an autoimmune disease.
Yeah.
We're seeing that a lot nowadays.
Yes. And it's self-management too. I take full ownership. I didn't cause my autoimmune diseases, but I triggered them. I didn't cause my early menopause. Well, actually, I triggered it with my lifestyle. And so when I think about the different things that I do now, it's managing it and not giving in to the triggers.
And when we speak about productivity and health, it often appears that we need an extremely strong willpower, self-discipline to obtain it. What would be the key elements of your coaching methodology that help clients increase their productivity and essentially live a healthier and better balanced life?
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't believe in using willpower for the wrong things. And, all of our devices that we have around us, all those rings, pings, buzzes, those are using up our willpower. The switch tasking that contributes to decision fatigue and willpower decline. Getting up to 150 notifications a day, even like choosing to answer or not answer, uses up some of our willpower and discipline. So the one thing that I do is use systems and tools to save ourselves from ourselves. So sometimes implementing technology to keep us from doing those things so that we aren't, fatigued and from a decision-making standpoint at the end of the day when we open up the refrigerator. And so, looking at it that way. Also, willpower is not finite. We don't have endless amounts of it. There are things that we can do throughout the day to, help kind of build it back up, or, things that we do that, suck away our willpower. And so finding those things for that person. And then also we are at Rader Co, it's very customized approach. I do have an online course that's systematic and methodical, but for the private coaching, everything is tailored, and it changes from week to week. Sometimes it changes in the moment based on what that person needs. And while some programs I think are, I'm in a program right now, a business coaching program that's very methodical and systematic. When it comes to health and productivity, it needs to be customized and tailored for each person. And so we do that, and also provide the accountability that's needed and pivot just based on the day, sometimes even within the day, to what that person needs. And that's really the key to success, is not thinking that you can read a book and do what that person does, or, look at a post on Instagram of somebody that, lost 30 pounds and think, oh, if I just do these things, then I'll be able to do that too. Or see somebody and think, how are they able to fit it all in, and they get all this stuff done in a week? Well, maybe they do get all of those boxes checked, but they are sacrificing their sleep to do it, or they're only spending 2 hours on a Saturday with their spouse or their partner. So we don't really know what's happening behind the scenes. And so, just getting away from comparing up or down, and really just focusing on what can I do in this moment.
I like that. Tailored, individualized approach, but also not using willpower for the wrong things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, as someone who traveled for business, you said 48 weeks a year?
Up to, yeah, anywhere from about 30 to 48 weeks every year.
And that was in the span of a decade, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what were some of the negative sides of corporate travel that you've experienced? And are there any steps for companies and employers that they can take in this regard?
Well, I think we have a great opportunity right now with the ending of the pandemic to completely relook at travel policies. The fact that I was sent across the country for 3 weeks and I wasn't allowed to come back. They weren't going to my company wouldn't pay for me to come back for a weekend, or even pay for my spouse to come see me for a couple of days. That if a company says that they care about any kind of work-life integration or family, asking that of somebody is really absurd. I had also had a policy at actually a couple of companies that I worked with, that we weren't allowed to go to the grocery. We had to eat at restaurants. If we submitted receipts for a grocery store, then they would get refused, or we'd have to go up a couple of levels to get them approved, which again is absurd. I wanted to buy food at the grocery store if I was going to be somewhere for a few days. It was cheaper for the company. And also, I didn't want to eat out all the time. And I never have understood that policy. And I've heard this at so many other companies. I don't know if they think that people are going to just load up their luggage with groceries and take it home, but it was so ridiculous. And so, instead, really thinking about what is going to help that traveler, be healthy. Is it that they can stay in a hotel with a kitchen, or an Airbnb with a kitchen, and go to the grocery, get food, and cook it themselves? That also saves them a lot of time. Looking at how long that work week is, and giving if they are travelers, then that is really more like a 4-day work week. You have to have a day at home, either prep or coming back, and not let it spill into the weekend, because those travelers that are working, or traveling 4 to 5 days a week, you are using those weekends just to catch up on the life that everybody else is able to do on the weekend, or during the week in the evenings. And so this is just a real opportunity to completely rethink travel policies now. This is a great time in the travel industry, I think.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think duty of care policy is there to help business travelers resolve some problems or issues after they occurred. I think what we need, especially nowadays in the post-pandemic era, before the business travel comes back, is to already have small details set in place and proper instructions, so that the travelers can feel comfortable of getting back to the road again.
Yes.
Feel confident and safe and supported at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. And what's happened in the last year has made it so much easier too. The plethora of online training programs, fitness classes, programs, apps that people can take on the road, because I feel comfortable working out in a fitness center, but some people might not. And it may not even be the health aspect or, the cleanliness aspect of it, which I've never seen hotel fitness rooms cleaner than they are now. This was really good for the cleanliness of hotel fitness centers. But, they can work out in their room with an app, and sometimes even with their same, class or gym that they are at home. And then, a lot of restaurants or airlines are not, restaurants and airports or airlines are not serving food, or it's very limited. And so, giving an allowance for the traveler to have healthy snacks and take, stop at a grocery store, take food from home so that we don't have to go out if we don't feel comfortable. I've always traveled with a portable standing desk. It weighs 1.8 pounds. That is a game changer for people. It used to be that people would interrupt me all the time working because I'd say, what is that? Where did you get it? And because it folds down, it's collapsible, it's awesome. And now, because so many people are working from home and maybe don't have, aren't able to get the full desk set up, they, there are a lot more portable standing desks on the market. So, even companies looking at, we can give these portable desks to people that want it so that they have the opportunity to stand up. This, it's so much better now than it was even just a year and a half ago. And people are so used to video chat now, like video chatting with your kids. And even just a year and a half ago, that wasn't really as common. And now it's unfortunately, it's almost too common. Sometimes I hope we can start seeing people more face to face, but this will help with the engagement a lot. And also, people will look at, is this meeting really a necessity? Do I really need to travel? So then when we do, it's actually going to mean more. And from a customer perspective, it is, I got on a plane or I drove 6 hours to see you face to face. Like, this means that much more.
Right. No, it's incredible how the little things can improve your life significantly, especially when it comes to productivity, and how post-pandemic era has changed life, of course, for the worse, but there is also a lot of positivity, I think. Now, in the preparation for this interview, I asked a lot of remote workers, what would be one question that you would like to know from a productivity coach as somebody who is working from home? 90% of them said, how do I establish a good work-life balance? What is your take on that?
Asana did a study that showed that we are working up to 2 hours more in the last year a day. Now, I don't think that means actual work, but it means that our workday has extended. And it's because we are interrupted so much. And it's, the lines are blurred. We used to have a transition, maybe where we're driving to work or we're taking the train. And so there was a clear start and end to the day. And now it just is all a blur. Sometimes people are checking email, in bed, either in the morning or in the evening. They're having to stop earlier because of kids and then go back to work at night. And we're not really giving our brains a rest and our bodies. So I recommend, there's only one thing that I recommend, it's to have some kind of transition in the morning, but even more importantly, in the evening. Even if you are going to have to come back to work, like maybe after the kids are in bed, have some kind of transition. And examples could be, at 5 o'clock every day, you take the dog for a walk, or at 5:30, you have Alexa or your Google Home or Siri play your favorite dance song for 4 or 5 minutes. That's one of my transitions. You might sit down and do a crossword puzzle. You might plan for your next day. I have an infrared sauna, And that's been my transition for the last several months. Is at the end of the day, I get in that sauna for 40 minutes. I breathe, I do a crossword puzzle, and then I do not work again after that. So having some kind of, activity that you do that tells you that work is done and now it's personal, even if that's only for 3 or 4 hours or until dinner's over. Because I know that some people do have to go back to work, but have something that you choose that can be your transition.
Right. What about healthy home office? We all know that it's incredibly important to when it's crucial. For example, when we're conducting meetings or we really need to be focused, to have a designated area within our house or the apartment where we can actually do those things. What are your practical tips on building a healthy home office? And are there any particular products that you would recommend?
Yes. So I got asked this question so many times that I created a video, and it is on YouTube in my channel, called Marcey's Healthy Home Office. But if I had to pick, let's say, 2 things, it would be a standing desk, even if it is a portable standing desk, even if you don't want to stand all the time. If you get even a portable standing desk, because I have a regular setup as a standing desk, but I have a portable one that I travel with, but I also will take it out on my deck and on my porch. So you can also get some sunshine and get kind of, just move around your house. But that would be my number one. We sit so much and our bodies were not designed to sit. And if we are on Zoom meetings all day, it's even worse, because with any kind of video meetings, we get this toy soldier effect where we don't feel like we can really move. So we get very stiff. And, sitting all day can also lead to what's called glute amnesia, where your butt muscles get really weak. And so what happens is you pull in accessory muscles around your back and your lower and your hips and your knees, and you think that you have a bad back, but what you really have is just a weak butt. So that is one of my recommendations. Another one is a standing desk mat. So I have an anti-fatigue mat that I stand on, and it's real lightweight, and I can move it around the house. And that also can help with, if you're making that transition to standing. So from a health perspective, those would be my 2 big ones. Actually, I'm going to give you a third bonus one, and that is an essential oil diffuser. Only because it just feels nice. And when you're working at home and you're just, in the same place all the time, and you may not have all the luxuries that you normally have, to get, maybe towards the end of the day, use a relaxing essential oil in the morning, or when you get the afternoon lull, you maybe use like a peppermint or something to, increase your energy. But it makes me feel better. And there are definitely some oils that are linked to productivity and also relaxation. So I would go with those 3.
I recently discovered the standing desk, and it was a groundbreaking discovery for me. I definitely recommend and couldn't agree with you more.
Yes. Well, and when we are standing, it tells our body that we're working. And when we're sitting, it tells our body leisure. And we actually will work with a little bit more urgency and focus when we're standing. However, there are some things that people will find, and everybody's different, that they prefer to do sitting. If I am just writing, like writing a blog post, writing my book, I actually prefer sitting. But for anything else, for the most part, I like to stand. And actually reading long passages, like reading like long articles, I prefer to do that sitting as well. But I do that on my Fit bike, which is another healthy home office tool. I have a bike from thefitdesk.com, and it's only $300, very affordable in the US, but it is a bike meant to work on.
So now we have 4 recommendations.
But now you have 4. Yes.
Very useful. Now, as a final question, Marcy, what did you do to take care of yourself during the pandemic? And is there a book that you would like to recommend to our viewers?
Mhm. I was very fortunate during the pandemic that my business, it actually grew, and I consider myself very fortunate. I also have a husband that I really enjoy being around, and because we were together a lot, so that was helpful as well. But the one thing that I purchased during the pandemic that to take care of myself, since that is the question, is I actually purchased an infrared sauna, and that's really big for people. I know some people are like, well, I could never do that. But if the question is specific to me, I would say that was a big one, because not only from a health perspective every day, but also it made me just sit and relax and reflect and think, because I don't take devices in there. I wanted to shift to more analog, and my theme for 2021 was white space, because before, with traveling all the time and just even traveling around my town to meet with people, I wasn't on the screen all day long. And so I felt like 2020, I was always looking at a screen. If I wasn't looking at a screen during the day, then at night I was watching Netflix or looking at my phone or something else. So I'm going more analog, and started doing paper crossword puzzles. And, I started using a productivity journal that's paper, and moving in that direction. So for me, it was going more analog and old school. And I've enjoyed that, and I want to keep it, because I feel like we all have enough screen time.
Couldn't agree more.
Mm-hmm.
Book recommendations?
My own. So I have a book called Work Well, Play More: Productive, Clutter-Free, Healthy Living, One Step at a Time. It is the book I am most proud of by far of the 3 books, and it's 12 months of behavior change in each of those areas in levels of novice, pro, and master. So it is as customized as I could get for in a book, for people to meet them wherever they are. And there's actually even a master class that goes along with it to even go deeper from the book. But that they can find at Work Well, Play More books, or workwellplaymore.com/books.
We are going to leave all the links in the description box down below. It was an incredible pleasure to have you today here as a guest speaker. I think we were able to provide our viewers with a lot of insights in increasing their productivity and building a sustainable and healthy home office. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Anna.